talks big, but frankly, we think he's short of know-how. The Norman Jewison movie, The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming, released in 1966, and the bestsellers The Russians, released in 1974 by Hedrick Smith, a former Moscow bureau chief of the New York Times, and The Russia House, released in 1989, a spy fable by John le Carré, bought into the same misnomer. Terminological confusion is understandable. For the best part of the 20th century, the USSR was the one and only Russian state. What was the Soviet Union? Vladimir Putin was to declaim in 2011. It was Russia, only by another name. The Soviet Union was governed by and large by Russians. Stalin, a Georgian from Imperial Russia's Caucasus holdings, was the glaring exception, rather like the Corsican Napoleon Bonaparte as patriot of France nonpareil. From Lenin to Gorbachev, every senior leader but him was Russian by nationality, although all had non-Russians in the family tree, or had lived at length in minority areas, or both. Russians were supreme in the military and industry, in the arts, and among the originators of Soviet know-how, which was more proficient than Hollywood gave it credit for. That said, the USSR was engineered at the outset by cosmopolitans for whom national boundaries, cultures, and interests were passé. They visualized their handiwork as a supranational contraption with a long reach out into the world they were hell-bent on transforming. Tellingly, Soviet Russia's official anthem from 1918 to 1944 was the battle hymn of the Paris Commune of 1871, the Internationale, an exhortation to the wretched of the earth to rise up and unite the human race. Congresses of the ruling party, until the very last one in July 1990, concluded with a rousing chorus. Fast forward to a quarter century since the sun set on the USSR and on its nomenclature and aspirational goals. Russia, Rossiya, accent on the second syllable, and its cognate adjective, Russian, Rossiyski, as in Russian Federation, Rossiyskaya Federatsiya, or Russian ruble, are disambiguated spatial, political, and civic categories. A Rossianian, from the same root, is a person domiciled in Russia and subject to its laws. Ruski, another form of the adjective, rhymes with brusky, not husky, is an identity category. It doubles as a noun denoting someone of Russian ethnic extraction. The Russkiya constituted a wafer-thin majority of the Soviet population in 1991. In the 2010s, they are 4/5 of the Russian Federation. The other fifth is non-Russian ethnic groups whose members are nonetheless citizens of Russia, the most substantial being the Tatars, Ukrainians, and Bashkirs. Something like 20 million ethnic Russians live in a diaspora. There is also a Russian language, Ruski Yazyk, in the East Slavic linguistic subgroup, alongside Ukrainian and Belarusian, with a 33-character Cyrillic alphabet based on the Greek ceremonial script. Russian was the language of interethnic communication of the USSR, for all intents and purposes the official language. These days, it is the state language of the Federation. 99.4% of Russian citizens in the most recent census spoke it, and the mother tongue of 165 million. 110 million or thereabouts can express themselves in it as a second language. Russian is one of 6 sanctioned languages of the United Nations and the second-ranking content language on the Internet. Russia is seated 4 square on the East European plain that sprawls 1,000 miles from Poland, the Carpathians, and Romania out to the Ural Mountains. And it has had an ample footprint in Asia for 500 years. 3/4 of its landmass and 1/5 of its population